Okay, welcome folks to this November 11th talk and practice for True North Insight. My name is Jill Davey and I'm one of the Dharma teachers with True North. And November 11th in Canada is Remembrance Day. I believe in America it's called Veterans Day. And I don't know how these type of things are marked in other countries. But so the talk tonight is in light of Remembrance Day and reflections on that. So it's called Remembrance and Peace. And there's a relationship, I think, between really remembering deeply. You know, as some of us were sharing in the chat before the recording, the intergenerational impacts of war on our lives and our families and our, you know, all the infinite ripples, but to really reflect and remember deeply touches within us the what's called compassion in the practice, karuna, which is the desire to respond to act in response to the awareness of suffering. So when we remember deeply in remembrance, we can really connect with the suffering on so many levels. So many levels: the victims of war, the orphans from war, the PTSD of the soldiers, the sexual abuse of women in countries besieged by war, the abuse of females or female identified people in military settings, the subjugation of our indigenous peoples that served in war and were not given the same benefits when they returned from war. Yeah, we could go on and on about what is being remembered. And when we really can connect on some level to the suffering of that, then we're called to respond and work passionately and diligently, persistently for peace. In the teachings of the Buddha, the closest word to peace is uh, santi, which became shanti in Sanskrit. In Pali, it's just santi, would mean peace. And this is it, the language Pali, that as best we know, the teachings were first written down in from the oral tradition. And this word means peace, but also calm, tranquility, um, settlement, being settled, uh, pacified, like pacified as in peace, at ease. Of course, another part of this word peace, the ultimate peace, is what's called nibbana, or in Sanskrit, that would be nirvana. Nibbana means liberation. You know, and liberation is another word that's used in war context, and liberating country, and but liberation here with nibbana, the ultimate peace, means the ending of suffering, the ending of what's called dukkha in Pali. Um, the first ever UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Jarrett Jan van Heuven, hope I'm saying that properly. Godard is actually the last name. Jarrett Jan van Heuven Godard. The first ever UN High Commissioner for Refugees, was also then awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And they said this: peace, as has been rightly described in various ways, is much more than just the absence of war. It is rather a state in which no people of any country, in fact, no group of people of any kind, lives in fear or in need. That's so profound. So this is somebody that worked and for so many years, and until their retirement, with refugees, the people that were refugees from war, and to say that just when a war ends, that there's peace, is missing a large part of the picture. So they're really pointing out here that peace is a state in which no person, and this is where we come to that place of all beings, may all beings be free from sufferings, may all beings be safe, may all beings know true peace and freedom. And so, that's peace, when none of us, nobody, no group and no country and no individual is living in any kind of fear or need. Well, that's wow. I don't know. In this moment, the first thought that comes to me is that feels impossible, sadly. And yet, this is what we practice for. This is what we respond. This is what we act. Our words and actions and deeds internally for ourselves and for each other come from this place of that everybody has the right to peace and freedom. And we will do our best in our little life, our little speck of a life, to have some impact that is hopefully offering and moving the world closer to peace. In the Remembrance Day ceremony today that I was watching part of, it was actually really moving because, they had to do things differently because of COVID, that people weren't able to gather the way they do in these big ceremonies. And so they did a lot more work with videos and interviews of survivors of war and families of veterans. One of the presentations today was this little girl, and I tried to find it again to catch her age. I think they didn't say her age, but Habiba was her name. It was so cute. She had this big piece of red paper, and she was reading her poem that she had written in school, and she was holding the paper right up in front of her face. It was bigger than her little head. She was so tiny. And I think this is a kind of a common school exercise. So I didn't get exactly Habiba's recipe for peace because I couldn't find it again to hear. I was watching the live ceremony. But when I looked it up, there was lots of other versions of this where the kids kind of fill in their part of the recipe. So this is not exactly Habiba's recipe for peace, but it's very close. So her recipe for peace is 2 cups of love. Oh, that'll make me cry. 1 cup of kisses, half a cup of friendship, 1 tablespoon of family, 1 teaspoon of hugs, half a teaspoon of sharing, 1 pinch of giving. Mix together and serve to everyone. Yeah, I might change that recipe these days to like 2 cups of hugs, because we're all so deprived of hugs these days. So we need to up the hugs and the chocolate chips in this recipe. But that's just so touching. And isn't that just a recipe for peace there? Family and hugs, sharing, giving, friendship, love, and kisses. Beautiful. The Buddha taught it this way. He said I won't try to say it in Pali. No other pleasure is greater than peace. And so this teaching is really pointing to, it's not saying there is no other pleasure, because there's, all the pleasures of, well, for instance, cookies, as we were just talking about, or whatever that recipe was. Why am I thinking of cookies? All the pleasures of community, of the beautiful weather we may have been having, depending where you are coming from, having safety, just enjoying whatever, a movie or whatever, a beautiful meal. So all of these things are certainly pleasures. And then, we have all the pleasures of gain and status and wealth and praise. And these are, of course, short-lived. But all of those, and that list is infinite of all the pleasures. All of those pleasures all contain hidden stress, dukkha. All of those, no matter which one, which reliant on something or someone or some situation or yourself being a certain way, all of these require continual striving and getting and keeping and fixing and replacing and trying to keep. So all of those pleasures are totally contingent, unreliable, impermanent, and unsatisfactory. And so they differ from what the Buddha is pointing to here. No other pleasure is greater than peace. This kind of peace is described as being a pleasure that is cool and tranquil. Maybe all those other pleasures kind of have a heat to them, right? There's a little bit of wanting and getting and keeping and protecting. And the pleasure from peace is very cool and tranquil. And it doesn't have any hidden suffering. Even though we can get into striving or trying to cling to that, of course, then it's already destroyed anyways. So, but this true peace is not one that's contrived, but it's actually one that can be, doesn't seem like it sometimes, but can be easily attained, is always accessible, is always right here in this moment, even this moment that may be a crappy moment. It is always possible in this body, heart, mind, in this moment. There was a teacher, well, he's a monk, a Thai Buddhist monk. He in the 1920s, no, it was before that. Yeah, beginning of the 1920s, he was a member of King Rama the Sixth personal staff, and he was so trusted that he was given the gift of this highest rank of conferred nobility. And that was when he was only 25 years old. And then after, when the king died, he became ordained and became a monk. And he lived in this monastery for his whole life, never left the monastery. And he died in 1971. And even though that monastery was quite lavish with beautiful Thai temples and, quite considered quite beautiful. Apparently, this man, his name's Chao Kun Nara. Let me see if I can get it. Nararatana. I did it. Nararatana. He lived very austere life there. Very not indulgent. And so he wrote a piece. He didn't write very much, but there's like some very short entries he wrote, or that were recorded and then translated, of teachings that he would give in particular to Western visitors. And so he said this about this aspect of peace that's always available in any moment. He said, we can give rise to it while sitting alone in a quiet place, or while surrounded by society. As long as we have a sense of how to make a separation, to seclude ourselves internally, he says, inclining the heart toward the pleasure of peace, so that while the body may be involved in turmoil, the turmoil doesn't reach the heart. So this is the secluding the heart, that even, we're all going to experience and have experienced suffering. We've been talking about the suffering of war. And so he's saying that from his experience, and this is obviously what the Buddha taught as well, that this seclusion of deep, cool, tranquil peace is always there for us. He went on about that, even, he died of cancer, and even with racking pain and etc., that he said that did not disturb the mind. And so then he gives these concrete ways that I want to highlight tonight, about how the Buddha taught us to attain this peace, how to practice to attain that inner nibbana, cooling peace. Maybe not nibbana, ultimate liberation, but at least cooling the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. And the first of these three ways is what's called sila, which means virtue or ethics, our personal intentions, guidelines, or our ones we may have taken as a vow. The virtue protects the mind and heart because we've made such a strong vow, intention to not cause harm by our words and deeds and thoughts, even our intentions, to not be dishonest, to not be greedy, to not cause harm, these kind of values. And when we can, as best we can, we're still going to make mistakes and cause harm, and then we try to learn from that and make amends. But that is such a protection. It's such a deep protection for ourselves and for others to have this foundation of ethics. The second way to this pleasure that is greater, that is the pleasure of peace, of which there is no other pleasure greater than that, is concentration. And that training the mind to be focused and concentrated on a skillful object keeps the mind, protects the mind and heart, and protects others from thoughts and actions of lust and greed and anger, fear, delusion, doubt. All of the harmful, painful mind states are guarded against when we have some or more or less of concentration, which we're going to practice tonight when I stop talking. The third way, so the first is sila or virtue ethics, your intentions, your moral foundation. The second is concentration. And the third is what he called discernment, which is discerning to see the true nature of things. That all things are, as I talked about, all those other kinds of pleasures, they're all impermanent, unreliable, um, inherently stressful because they're impermanent and unreliable. And they're out of our control, Yeah, seeing something that's broken when it's brand new is a helpful way to practice with that. So this discernment of really looking closely and carefully and understanding how things truly are is another way to help us not cling and not fight and not have aversion, but to really see how things are. Yeah. Okay. There, in terms of values, another thing I heard today was a little interview with what's called the Silver Cross Mother. So each year, as part of Remembrance ceremonies, they confer this award to often a mother or someone who's lost people in war. And so this woman this year, Debbie Sullivan, whose son Chris Saunders died in that submarine fire accident that was off the coast, the North Atlantic coast. It was the HMCS Chicoutimi. This happened in 2004. And he didn't survive that submarine accident. And so now there's a high school named after him, Chris Saunders Memorial High School, I think. And the whole school every day is guided by these principles. They call it the Chris Code. It's beautiful, Chris Code. And these values are an acronym of his name. So the C is for caring. H, honesty. R is respect. I is inclusion. And S is safety. That's the Chris Code. That high school every day is guided by those values. It's just so beautiful. That's an awesome definition of peace as well. Caring, honesty, respect, inclusion, and safety. And you can hear in that the virtues are in there, right? Of not lying. Honesty is there. Care, non-harm, safety. Yeah, wonderful. All right. So I would like to guide a little bit of a introduction to concentration practice. And I don't often do this because it's, YouTube, difficult conditions for really a deep concentration, but thought it might be helpful to introduce this as a way of how to really train the mind to rest with an anchor, an object, and to understand the importance of that. So, allow yourself to get comfortable for this practice. If you need to adjust or have a cushion, or for concentration practice, you do want to be awake, wakeful. So if you're lying down for this practice, you can do. It certainly is one of the postures of meditation. But if you are laying down, you might want to put your forearm up. So if you're laying back, you put your forearm up, and then your arm will fall if you're falling asleep, and will wake you up to begin again. Otherwise, if you're sitting, you could try to have an uprightness to your posture. If you're interested in this practice of concentration, you also need to set aside distractions. It is fine to just listen. You don't have to do the practice tonight, but if you're wanting to, you might like to close your screen and just hear my voice, or close your eyes. You might like to rest your hands. It's also fine to just keep doing whatever it is you need to do, and just hearing and being here with us is totally fine. So finding a posture that is steady and upright. So we want a sense of rising up through the center of the body, and then relaxing down around that central column, your spine. So relaxing any tension in the face and neck and shoulders. Taking time to relax any tension in the belly or the heart area. Relaxing the hands. It can be helpful to have the hands drawn back a little bit so your elbows are under your shoulders. This will help you stay upright. So we want to be upright but without tension. Just take a few moments here to just feel into your posture, relaxing any tension that you notice, feeling a support and connection with the ground. Feeling a sense of energy and wakefulness through the body. Just to help explore this practice of concentration, we're going to choose one anchor tonight. That anchor is the breath. So some of you may already have a place where you've practiced feeling the breath in your body. And if that's a new practice for you, just see where you most easily feel the sensation of breathing happening. A direct, not a visualizing of the breath, but actually feeling. How do you know breathing in is happening? There's a sensation. How do you know breathing out is happening? Where are you most easily feeling that sensation? Try to just kind of rest in a locale. It might be the center of the belly, the little movement there of expanding and contracting. For some, that might be more easily felt in the area of the heart center, center of the chest, rising and falling. And for others, it might be the felt experience at the nostrils of the coolness of air coming in and slightly warmer coming out, just at the area of the nostrils. So whichever one is most easily accessible for you to feel the direct sensations of. And if it's all three you could feel equally, you might just choose one, perhaps the belly. One isn't better than the other, just settling on one. So really just acknowledge for yourself that this is the place that you're really intending to attend to. Intend to attend. Setting your intention that you're going to stay close to this sensation, not with striving or tension, but with interest, energy, curiosity. And just feeling it in this one area that you've chosen to rest. And now, see if you can invite the light of awareness, the light of your attention, to meet with the beginning of each inhalation. See if you can really just feel that sensation, inhale, beginning. And it's not about trying to catch it or get it. It's just about being really curious. Can I just feel when the inhale is beginning? Just in that place where I'm attending. At first, you might find the breath becomes a little bit controlled because we're really trying to notice that particular aspect. That's okay. Just let that be and notice the beginning. Can you really be right there? And then we're going to just slide the lens of attention onto the length of each inhalation. Can you be really there for all those sensation, one after another, that is just what we call one inhalation. It's a whole series of sensations. Just attuning here to the length of the inhale. And then notice at the top of the inhale, there's a little turn of the breath where inhale starts to fall into exhale. Can you just feel that sensation? Inhale, beginning into exhale. brightly bring your curiosity and attention to the length of the exhalation. What does that feel like at that one place you're attending? A whole series of sensations in each exhalation. Feeling the end of the exhalation, there's a small space before the next inhale begins. Now let's see if we can feel and really be alive to one whole breath. Its beginning, moment, length, turn, exhale, ending. Over and over. And now as you keep feeling each breath, see if some of the controlling of the breath can soften so the breath becomes natural and you're so curious, so interested to feel each breath is unique. Sometimes long or short, shallow or deep, smooth or rough. Over and over each breath is a new moment, a new life, a new experience. And if there's a little degree of peace and calm and happiness from this beginning concentration or mindfulness, to allow yourself to know that the simplicity, there's no space for the defilements of the mind to be taking over when we're attending this closely to the breath or to anything. If the mind has gotten caught in fear or restlessness, desire, aversion, just gently notice and begin again this inhalation. Bringing curiosity over and over, which gives us energy to maintain our attention. This brings a type of joy and calm. And equanimity or peace. So if you don't already have a concentration practice that is known to help to be conducive to more peace for ourselves and others, then this is one way to start to develop that type of a steadiness of mind, and also protection of mind, that we're not fueling states of heart and mind that are harmful. That Thai monk, Chao Kun Nararatana, said that concentration, the pleasure of peace in the heart through concentration, training the mind not to think thoughts of lust, anger, greed, delusion, fear, restlessness, or uncertainty, things that make the mind irresolute and indecisive. Once these things can be abandoned, the heart is calm, giving rise to the pleasure of peace within. So I'd like to offer a poem. Not surprising. I've shared the link there in our Zoom chat, and when it's on YouTube, I'll share the link down below. And of course, this is by Rosemary Watola Tromer. For those of you who have listened to any of my talks before, you'll hear a lot of poetry from Rosemary and others, such as Habiba's little poem today. This one is called Peace, and encouragement to support poets by buying their books, please. So Peace by Rosemary Watola Tromer. She says, and there on the to-do list, somewhere beneath post office and above pay the bills, is a single word, not yet crossed out, peace. You've written it in ink as if to offer it permanence, an urgency that can't be erased. Every day you look at it, wondering if this is the day that goodwill will come as easily as changing the burned out light bulbs or taking the garbage out. You almost stop believing you will ever cross it off. After a while, it might seem just like any other thing. You write it on your list, then ignore. Like clean beneath the piano or organize the garage. But then the news will shake you, will render your duties small, and you'll write it in at the top of the list in all caps, underlined in blue. Peace. Not something to do, but something to serve, something to practice as you move through the day, something to inform the way you fold the sheets. You drive to town, you attend the meeting, you make the call, you write the letter, you do what must be done. Rosemary, so good. So I put the link for that there in the chat. If you're not able to access the chat and would like the link, you could search it on Rosemary Watola Tromer's website. It's entitled Peace, or you can email me and I will send it to you. Yeah, so folks that are on the YouTube version of this talk and practice, there's links down below to support True North Insight or to support me as a Dharma teacher, meditation teacher. And thank you so much for any support you're able to offer. This is how we're able to offer teachings now, and is my livelihood. So thank you so much for your support as you're able. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'll just say goodnight to the YouTube folks, and then those on the Zoom call, we can keep chatting for a bit if you like. And